Township Parsippany-Troy Hills Township Council Agenda Meeting, June 11, 2013. Public invited, public participation. Meeting called to order by myself at 7:30 p.m. Please rise for a flag salute. Mr. DiPiero.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Karifi?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Mr. Ferrara?
Here.
Mr. Nelson?
Here.
Mr. Stanton?
Here. Others present. Jasmine Lim, Business Administrator. Paul Cazarelli, Assistant Business Administrator. John Inglesino, Esquire, Township Attorney. Yancy Wazirmas, Township Clerk. Purpose of this meeting is to set the agenda for the regular Township meeting, June 18, 2013. Formal action may or may not be taken.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 10, 2012, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in both the Daily Record on December 14, 2012 and the Star Ledger on December 13, 2012. It was forwarded by fax to other local newspaper and local radio station on December 10, 2012. Note, council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 12 p.m. on Sundays, are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Okay, ordinance is second reading, public hearing. Everything set for next week?
Yes, everything's set.
Okay, status of adopted ordinances. Ordinance 2013:09, adopted date May 14, 2013. Mayor's action May 17, 2013. Effective date June 6, 2013. Discussions, reminders, scheduled meeting June 18, 2013, 7 p.m. Special meeting, public hearing, adoption 2013 budget, public invited, public participation. June 18, 2013, 7:30 p.m. Regular meeting, public invited, public participation. July 9, 2013, 7:30 p.m. Agenda meeting, public invited, public participation. Okay, nothing under Mayor. Administration, anything?
Mr. Council President?
Yes.
If I may, as an add-on for next week, I would suggest that you put on the Forge Pond rezoning ordinance
Okay.
to be introduced next week.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, now, nothing under Township. Township office reports, engineer, Mr. Karifi.
There's no change to any with the exception of the Sunoco Inc. performance bond release, 1947, Route 46, Block 453, Lot 3. The developer has completed all required site construction activity of the performance bond. Inspections have been made in the site during the course of construction, and this office has no objection to the release of the performance bond. A resolution will need to be adopted by the Township Council.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
So
Next.
we'll put it on
Yes.
consent.
Yes. Applications, resolution approving the applications for a license to operate a shelter, pet store, Township Parsippany-Troy Hills Animal Shelter and Petco, number 1854. Resolution Township Council of Township Parsippany-Troy Hills approving and authorizing retail liquor licenses renewals for the licensing term July 1st, 2013 to June 30th, 2014. At this time, I'll entertain a motion open to the public.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Karifi,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes, at this time, I'd like to open this up to the public. You'll have 5 minutes to speak. No, the next meeting.
Okay.
Hello, Council. Jim Vigilante, 19 Littleton Road. Just wanted to bring to your attention, Memorial Day, I know there's not a person in this room I know doesn't support it, and it's one of my favorite holidays, as you all know. I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but maybe you can get back to me for a reason. We had one of our own, Derek McConnell, pass this around real quick. He was killed from his injuries or died from his injuries in Afghanistan. And some of you may or may not know the connection I had, not knowing at the time that when I took him off a helicopter when I was in Afghanistan, not knowing he was from my hometown, I found out later on. So I have a real connection with him. And I was asked by his mother to attend the Mountain Lakes Memorial Day services for her son. And I was just wondering why Parsippany did nothing for him, or do we have something planned for him in the future? And if I know it's a hard task, some people don't like to reach out to the family because of, the wound is still fresh, but Mountain Lakes did. She responded, and she went there and she gave a really beautiful speech. And I just hope in the future that maybe we could do something for him, whether it's the next Veterans Day. I know the American Legion and the VFW would be supportive of it. I'm not sure why we didn't do anything this time around. And maybe get back to me another day, but I'd just like to keep that in the back of your minds that I think we should do something for him, if not a memorial. And secondly, I'm going to come to the town. If you notice over at the police station, around the flagpole, there's a bunch of markers for the dogs that serve this town as canine units. And there's one that Mike Doyle's dog, Thor, who I had the pleasure of keeping an eye on him for the last 3 years of his life, when Mike retired and went and had to build a house. But anyway, there's no marker for him. So I'm getting prices on those markers. I talked to Chief Phillips, and he would be supportive of it. I'm not sure how much they cost. I'm sure there's nothing in the town budget. Maybe I could do a fundraiser or get some of the folks over at the dog pound to chip in. But anyway, I just want to let you know that I'm going to take that task on. I think there should be a marker for him over there. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Can you let us know the price?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Parsippany-Troy, 182 Wilkins Avenue. Surprised the mayor's not here tonight, but I'd like to discuss something with you. The word community means people living together. We're not separated. We don't have different things involved. My concern is with the addition of an Indian liaison to the mayor. In my opinion, this appointment by Mayor Barbario makes no sense to me. The person he put in charge has been in this community for 25 years. Apparently no problems. It is my opinion this is a form of discrimination. Since Mayor Barbario has not appointed any other liaisons, that's your Chinese, your Japanese, your African Americans, your Americans. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see anybody appointed to be a liaison for any group of people. As a community, our concerns, whether they be individual or group, should be brought before this town council. Residents should be aware of what's happening in all parts of our town. To do this splits the community. So I ask this council to do what you can to rescind this position of liaison for anything. We are a community, and that is people all living together, not separated by race, religion, or anything else. One of the things I wanted to also bring up tonight was this election and the posting of signs. It was brought to the attention of Mayor Barbario 3 meetings ago probably, about signs being placed without the permission of the owners of the property. I let it go, no problem. Until I happened to wake up one morning and find one on my yard. But on the side of my yard where I can't see it because there's a big fence, somebody put up Mr. Barbario signs. If I wanted Mr. Barbario signs there, I would have put them up. I would suggest that we all inform our campaign workers of what is and what isn't allowed, because they can get hit with trespassing signs, restrictions on them. So please keep that in mind. But the most important thing is to get rid of that liaison. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jasmine, just to respond to Pat, is there anything the council could do about that, considering that was an administrative position, created position?
You gotta ask the attorney.
Yeah.
No, it's an informal liaison position to the mayor, which is within his province to create. It's an unpaid position,
Right.
and one that I think he has indicated in the past that he actually campaigned on when he ran for mayor 4 years ago.
Yes.
Roy Mesmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Good evening, everyone. First thing I'd like to just bring up tonight, it's got to be a little bit of a joke, but John D'Inglesino didn't get paid, right, for this front cover page when you were working that night? You didn't notice that they took your picture at Jamie Barbario's?
I
You didn't know?
I try to stay out of the
Autograph it for me?
newspapers.
You
right.
try to stay out of it? Right. Front and center there, Mr. Inglesino. I noticed, too, you took the sticker off your car, too. Right? I wish the mayor was here tonight, but are we not going to have the mayor? Is he on vacation? In for future? You don't know. He doesn't have to say he's here or coming. Because during Mayor Luther, Mayor Letts, that's how Mayor Letts and I got back together because of these shirts, ran over and I got this paper last week, Neighborhood News, and they had 100 people show up for their river cleanup. Now, I know for a fact over the last 5 years, I've showed up at almost every one, and I've been really the only resident, and my son showed up one time, and he was the only student or resident in town at the time. We're a much bigger town than Denville. Next thing, I know I'm jumping around here a little bit tonight. It wasn't really that organized, but as somebody, good buddy of mine, said, government, the gift that keeps giving to employees of the government. Really should read this. I was not aware of this. I brought this to Jasmine and Paula's attention last week. Plan 457. More than happy to make a copy of this and show it to anybody. It's a disgrace. You know, government officials just keep taking care of the people that take care of them. Next thing, housing and property maintenance. We have ordinances, ladies and gentlemen, but our housing department is probably the worst department in this town. There is no doubt in my mind. It's got to be restructured. People have to be fired, or people got to be told that they got to do a job. Because, Brian, I'm going to document everything to you from now on. What I do in this town, just in my neighborhood alone, it's a disgrace. And I found out that there have been a number of people calling town hall. I don't know if it's the mayor's action line. I don't know if it's housing. They don't do anything anyway. Lawn maintenance, okay? I mean, I could tell you, people, the lawns are getting so high, and these are not the foreclosed homes. I'm talking about homes that have been bought. It's a disgrace. We spent a lot of money. This probably happened during Dorsey's time. A lot of money for this paperwork right here, but we don't do crap about it. Number two, something that really irks me. I'm not going to go into my police involvement on last Thursday, but I wrote this memo. I know we have an interim superintendent. I know he's had a tough week what went on with that teacher, but still, I wrote a memo on June 2nd because I saw this up at Mountain Way, and I know other school systems throughout the state have it. All parks shall be officially closed. I'm not going to read the whole thing. The schools should put this up. There was a major fireworks display that I didn't see live, but near my house. I saw the material the next day. You can check with Chief Phillips. He's well aware of this. But I think, Brian, you got to get in touch with the interim superintendent. They got to post on their properties, and I know they have
They don't,
14.
well, you know, they don't have to listen to us whatsoever. That's their own governing.
Well, yeah, but just ask them to follow up and do it right. No, I understand. Use the same ordinance. You know, you don't have to pay Lesniak all this money. Next thing, what am I up to here? Let me know when I have 30 seconds left, please, Vinny. Memorial Day. I want to say something else. I thought Mr. Vigilante was going to cover this, but it really upsets me, and I am a Protestant. So there's no bias in it. It's unbiased, actually. All these years I've attended Memorial Day. It's on public property, bought with open space money, but yet those guys only read off Protestant names. What about the Jewish men and women that have served this country and are buried in this town? What about the Italian men and women? And I suggest all you Italians read Ghost Soldiers. But anyway, it's about the Bataan March and the liberation of that before the Japs killed them all. Excellent book. That was a captain, ranger. He was Italian. Why don't we mention the other people? There might even be some Vietnamese here now that have died in Vietnam. I don't know. I'm not going to go through all the...
30 seconds.
Oh, shoot.
You told me.
Oh, shoot. All right. I hope another person votes no on the budget for 3 reasons. The hidden raises, that's a disgrace. And they still got 2% too. The surplus, how the mayor, see, that's why the mayor and the Chris Christie have made friends again, because they both do the same thing. The affordable housing money. I hope the Builders Association sues the state of New Jersey, and I hate the word sue. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Come on, it's summertime.
Thank you.
We've got a lot more.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion to close the public session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yep.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for pending litigation, threatened litigation, and legal advice.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar, second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yep.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, resolution, whereas the Open Public Meeting Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231 permits the exclusion of public from the meeting in certain circumstances, whereas Township Council, in the opinion such circumstances presently exist, whereas Township Council wishes to discuss attorney-client privilege, matters of litigation, whereas minutes will be kept once a matter involving confidentiality, the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved, Township Council, Township Parsippany-Troy Hills, that the public be excluded from this meeting.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yep.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
We'll be back.
I'll entertain a motion to reconvene.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. DiPiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, we have some add-on resolutions. Mr. DiPiero, if you would.
We have to make a motion to add them
yes.
on first,
Yep,
right?
Yep.
All right, so I make a motion we add on Resolution 2013-124 and 125.
125 is
Ju-
over here.
Just 124. Just 124. Motion by Mr. DiPiero to add R 2013-124, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes, Mr. DiPiero.
Resolution of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Council authorizing a settlement for Dulane Contracting, Inc. versus Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills. And I believe there are copies down there.
Yes, I put copies in front.
Motion by Mr. DiPiero,
Second.
second by Mr. Karifi. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara.
Yes.
Mr. Nelson.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
If you'd like, yes.
Yes. Mr. Inglesino?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. I just was inquiring as to whether or not an explanation to the public would be warranted in connection with the settlement of this particular case. The Delane case essentially involves the South Beverwick pump replacement project. There was a bid that went out in March of 2010. The township's consultant, Dewberry, was the consultant who oversaw the bid. The lowest responsible bidder was Dulane Contracting, which came in at a price of $664,388. As I say, Dulane was the lowest responsible bidder. The contract was awarded on August 31 of 2010. Work commenced on May 2nd, 2011. There were some site inspections and discrepancies that occurred with respect to issues that Dulane began to allege. Specifically, Dulane had indicated or alleged that the township had misrepresented the condition of the site, in that the subsurface water was higher than what was anticipated, which would have resulted and did result in Dulane undergoing a process called dewatering, so that it could put the pumps in a more saturated condition. The work was finished in July 31st of 2012. Dulane has been paid thus far $547,000, which is less than the contract price because Dewberry had held back some retainage. Under statute, they're entitled to hold back 2%. They've actually held back a little bit more. There were essentially two claims that Dulane has asserted. One is that they're owed the balance and that there were some change orders that resulted in $147,000, roughly approximately $147,000 of additional cost. The second claim was that they incurred $146,000 of dewatering costs. Dewberry has advised that the work claim is valid, that there were change orders that increased the price of the project, and the dispute on dewatering ended up going into mediation. And as a result of that process, a settlement is recommended in the total price of $175,000, which in essence reduces a claim of roughly $300,000 to $175,000 total, which would also include the additional monies that were owed under the contract. So there's been now a total of $722,000 paid to Dulane. Remember that the bid price was $664,388. However, there were various change orders and increased cost of the job that were acknowledged and requested by Dewberry, so that the project came in on time, but $57,000 over the original budgeted amount, if you will. But this resolution will result in the satisfaction of all claims it releases. It will spare the township additional litigation costs, and as they say, the project has been completed, and as we understand it, functioning the way it should. So that was the purpose of the resolution.
Okay, Resolution R 2013-125, Mr. Farrar.
I need to make a motion to
Nope,
that.
nope, it's already on.
Resolution amending a resolution adopted on April 10, 2012, and entitled Resolution Providing for the Form, Maturities, and Other Details of the Refunding Bonds of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills.
Motion by Mr. Farrar,
Second.
second by Mr. Nelson. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes, ordinance 2013:18, Mr. Karifi.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2012:09, adopted February 14th, 2012, in order to provide a change authorized by such ordinance due to a transposition of utility titles. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills held on June 11th, 2013, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on July 16th, 2013, at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached, at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. DePiero. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a
So
motion.
moved.
Motion by Mr. Karifi, second by Mr. Farrar. Roll call.
Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Mr. Nelson?
Yes.
Mr. Stanton?
Yes, good night, everyone.